Oh, we're recording? Alright. Greetings, programs. I'm Jacko, and this is the Gamification, my show where we get together as fellow geekazoids and talk about all the things happening in the world of gaming, movies, animation, and what have you. We've got a lot to talk about today, so let's start things off with the first segment I'm going to call New News. There's good news. We have 1, 2, 3. No, that can't be right. 1, 2, 4 news items, but we've still got a bit to talk about after that. So let's get into it with Jon Favreau's live-action Star Wars show will be set in a very intriguing period after Return of the Jedi. This is from Gizmodo.com. Speaking to Nerdist Dan Casey at yesterday's Solo, not yesterday, a couple of days ago, Solo, a Star Wars story premiere, Favreau plays the alien Rio Durant in the movie. Favreau surprisingly also teased what fans could expect from his own Star Wars project, a TV show set roughly 7 years after the Battle of Endor in Return of the Jedi. Favreau also mentioned that the series would utilise the similar sort of CG work the director had previously used in Disney's Jungle Book reboot and, unsurprisingly, will focus on the new cast of characters. But the 7-year date is particularly interesting because it places the show in a very specific and relatively untouched piece of Disney's Star Wars timeline. Now I'll pull the thing back here so that'll be better. From what we know of Disney's timeline in this between trilogies period so far, this would be around 6 years after the New Republic is officially founded with the signing of the Galactic Concordance in 5 ABY. That's after the Battle of Yavin, because that's the time period they set in the universe. And the development of what would eventually become the First Order, hiding in the unknown regions, is still in its most secretive and earliest days. The live-action Star Wars show will release on Disney's streaming service, so we won't be seeing it until 2019 at the least, if not later. So we actually get a timeline for what's going to happen, and so 7 years after the Battle of Endor, so that's 2 years set after the end of Chuck Wendig's trilogy Aftermath, where that's the end. It's 5 years after the Battle of Endor. They're still fighting the rest of the Empire, but at the end they win, and the Empire flies off into the unknown regions where they recollect themselves and rebuild themselves as the First Order. So seeing that time where they'll place Ben Solo about 2 years old, because he's born just after all that mess, and that'll make it interesting to see how the New Republic starts its development. So this is great. I love Star Wars stuff. New Star Wars news is fantastic, especially with Jon Favreau. He's been involved in other Star Wars projects before. He's worked on Clone Wars. He's voiced in Clone Wars. He's voiced in Rebels, I believe, as well. And so because Jon Favreau's worked with Dave Filoni before, maybe they can corroborate some of their stories to build on this new timeline that they're trying to go for. So that's awesome. Alright, news number 2. The Predators. Shane Black explains how he's going old school to make the movie feel fresh. This is from IO9, but the original story came from Collider.com, so if you want to check that out, that's great. The man who directed Kiss Kiss Bang Bang from Iron Man 3 has acknowledged that he's living a weird dream, having played the smaller role of Hawkins in the original Predator. Shane Black is now the guy behind the franchise's return to the big screen. He talks about his aesthetic inspiration and some of his underlying plot elements. Quote, "There was a great deal of nostalgia and also a desire to do a kind of old school thriller in the form of The Predator. There's a lasting quality to the original movie that's due, I think, in part to the fact that it was made before it was so easy to just do a bunch of CGI effects and before video games had taken hold as well." End quote. Fred Decker, the film's co-writer, still continuing to quote. "Fred Decker, the film's co-writer, and I just thought, obviously, we've kept up on visual effects and technology, and we're big fans. But let's try to do an old school kind of real hearty and heartfelt kind of war movie surrounding the story." And then when he continues to speak to the tone of the movie, he goes, "There's an element of intrigue, and I think espionage/mystery, whatever. The government is involved in this, and it takes to the level of what happens when the Predator strikes. These incursions are not just an every once in a while phenomenon known to a few, but have come to the attention of an establishment that is actually set on preparing for the marshalling forces against these incoming Predator strikes." End quote. Oh no, not end quote. And so it's that sort of what the next step is. When they get noticed, that's kind of what we start off as our jumping off point for what's different. Oh, this sounds weird. And also, what happens when the Predators get a little more ambitious? Maybe it's not just a weekend hunt anymore. So we've had some fun with that. And finally, it's an end quote. So from what I'm gathering, they're just saying this new movie that they're making, it's still going to have that old school kind of feel to it, where it's like, let's have a lot of the tone from the older movies, but also bring in some more CGI stuff, but not crowd it with CGI effects. So if you're thinking something more modern where they did that, Star Wars The Force Awakens could be a good example, where they brought in the puppets and everything and all the props and speeder stuff, but they also had the CGI effects for ships and the space stuff and lightsabers and obviously all that. So this sounds cool. It sounds like something that will actually make a lot of money. It'll actually bring audiences back in to watch some of these movies, especially after the Alien vs Predator duology that just didn't do as well as some would have hoped for, I guess. Okay. News number 3. Nintendo shares new details about its Nintendo Switch online service coming in September. This is from Nintendo.com. Nintendo revealed more information about Nintendo Switch Online, including pricing, save data, cloud backup, and additional details about the classic NES games subscribers will be able to play when it launches in September. There was this US pricing stuff. It says it varies, but the individual memberships, like, you get 1 month is $4, or $3.99 US. 3 months you get $7.99 US. For 12 months you pay $19.99 US, and there's family memberships for 12 months that are $34.99. And the family is like, hey, you can have 8 separate Switch devices using the same network, I believe it is. So I've got more info here. With a family membership, up to 8 Nintendo account holders will be able to use the Nintendo Switch Online service, even on different systems. The collection will initially include 20 games, with more added on a regular basis. At launch, previously announced games Balloon Fight, Dr. Mario, and Super Mario Bros. 3 will be joined by Donkey Kong, Ice Climber, The Legend of Zelda, Mario Bros, Soccer, Super Mario Bros, and Tennis. An additional 10 launch games will be announced in the future. So that's great. It's not really much to go on, but it's still saying, hey, we're actually doing it, it's coming out. We just got to see how reliable it is, because Nintendo's online features haven't always been the most trustworthy, I guess you could say. But if it's actually getting people to come in and play those games, buy more systems, so they're like, hey, let's have fun. Pardon me. And yeah, it's cheap. That's another selling point, especially because the games are so expensive on the Switch. I swear there was one more. Nintendo? Ah, yes. Haha, found it. Okay. Sony details PlayStation E3 2018 showcase. This is from Polygon.com. Sony's E3 2018 showcase will take place on Monday, June 11th at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, and will have a major focus on 4 upcoming PlayStation 4 games, according to Sean Layden, who's the CEO of Sony's Interactive Entertainment America and chairman of Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios. Sean Layden discussed Sony's plans for E3 2018 during an episode of PlayStation Blogcast, hinting that this year's media event will be different from the ones in years past. We're taking kind of a different angle on how we're bringing it out, Layden said. The last 2 or 3 years, to the careful observer, you'll see that we continue to try and refresh and remake and reignite what we do at the what used to be called a press conference for E3, Layden explained. We want to make sure that it's fresh and reflects the kind of stories we're telling and the new entertainment we have to give to our fans. Not just at the event, but worldwide with ... streaming. Layden said that Sony's pre-E3 showing will feature exclusive looks and deep dives on 4 big titles from Sony Interactive Worldwide Studios, Kojima Productions' Death Stranding, Insomniac Games' Marvel's Spider-Man, Naughty Dog's The Last of Us Part 2, and Sucker Punch's production Ghost of Tsushima. Sony's E3 2018 showcase will also highlight games from PlayStation's third-party publishing partners and independent studios, Layden said. He confirmed that there will be no hardware announcements during the show, so don't expect PlayStation 5 or the PS Vita 2 to be revealed at E3 this year. The interesting thing about that was the pre-E3 showing will show from the big games that they've been showing off the last few years, like Death Stranding and The Last of Us and whatnot. So that's like, they usually, with the pre-E3, they usually have, well, before the conference thing, they usually have a little side stage, I guess you could say, where they televise all these other games, like, hey, here's some more indie game stuff, and here's some other like AA or AAA things that we want to show off, but we're not going to show the big, the main event. And a lot of people tend to miss it sometimes, especially when they're streaming or they're watching other people's streams or whatnot, or they just don't see the games because they're there at the stage waiting for the main show to begin. But if they're saying the pre-E3 stuff is going to delve more deeply into these bigger games that we've seen previously, then perhaps the main show will reveal the rest of what they're trying to work on, not just with the Worldwide Studios, but other exclusives, like AA exclusives and whatnot, other indie stuff. Let's put out, here's some more smaller games, maybe they'll talk a bit more, or maybe even we'll see some playthroughs, like play testing. Oh, this keeps coming up. Okay, so that's it for the news. Let's go on to Game Chat, working title. If you have a better title, please let me know. I'd love to use it. But for now, let's just keep using this. Microsoft is now letting you gift some games, specifically PC games and like PC DLC and other little bits through their gifting tactic. It's kind of like the Steam store that way. Last autumn or fall, if you prefer that, they started doing that for Xbox games. But yeah, just specifically Xbox games, like Xbox One games. But it was only for Xbox insiders. But now all of Xbox users can do it, which is pretty cool. There are some restrictions though. You can only gift 2 discounted products every fortnight, and there's limits on full price gifting and whatnot. Xbox 360 and Xbox original games are still off the table, as are pre-orders. So it doesn't seem like it's amounting to much at the moment. It just seems more like, hey, let's get some of those indies out, like, and more PC specific games. There was also new info from For Beyond Good and Evil 2. This came out last week, and I got it from Engadget. But you can also find that news at Polygon and what was it? Gamesindustry.biz. And I'll just read some of it because I thought it was pretty interesting. Ubisoft pulled the curtain back a little further on the massively ambitious Beyond Good and Evil 2. They had a Switch stream where they had a trio of developers explain the game's narrative, timeline, and showed off work in progress footage of combat, player movement, and divulged some details about how character creation, customization works. You won't actually play as Jade, who was the protagonist in the first Beyond Good and Evil game. So it's just more of a character creation where you can also hybrid characters. Like, hey, I want to... If you've seen the... I'll just go back. If you've seen the previous trailer they had of Beyond Good and Evil 2, there was like a monkey, that anthropomorphized monkey, and other, like a gorilla and rhinos in like little Chinatown, really dingy kind of area. Those are the characters you could be able to create, or humanoids if you want. You can still use a bow staff weapon and jetpacks around, so you can jump from ship to ship and like take over, or you get into your ship and then take off like a little fighter and then take off and fight in the sky, which is pretty cool. What else? There was also a couple of things. Yeah, the one thing that I saw from this video was that it looks super ambitious. Like, the whole game was super ambitious. And the fact that last E3 they said, hey, we're just starting production, come help us out, and we're hiring people. It's not going to be anytime soon, you know. It's still a long, long way. I'll put a link in the description below for you to see the actual video that the Ubisoft team created, and see if it's worth having a good go at that game. Yeah. I had this in Rumours Abound, but it's not entirely rumours, just I'm putting rumours on top of it. Square Enix E3 Showcase was announced as well. You can find that at, on Facebook and Twitter. And their main page. They have a countdown going right now. It starts at Monday, June 11th at 10 a.m. Pacific time and 1 p.m. Eastern time. And they say, hey, join us for a special video presentation to discover the exciting future of Square Enix. So what I got from this was that, hey, we haven't had a presentation, like a big presentation, since 2015. And by going from that, we think that a lot of the popular Square Enix titles, like Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy VII Remake, and some other things could, or most likely could, or would be shown at this new presentation. Especially because they have a countdown on their actual webpage. I think they've got a lot to show. Could be other stuff, like possibly the new Lara Croft game, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Also, who knows, there could also be a new Just Cause game. But I'm definitely looking forward to some Kingdom Hearts news coming out from that. So that's kind of why I put that in the rumor, but look out for that. Alright, now we go into games this week. A lot of PC stuff, some indies, and some have very good reviews. But here's the list. Raging Justice on Xbox One, PC, PS4, and Nintendo Switch. Tacoma on PS4, that's from the makers of Gone Home. So if you like those kind of games, those kind of walking simulators with a really good narrative, check that one out. Shantae Half Genie Hero Ultimate Edition, that's on the Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Cool Painter on the PSVR. Cool Painter VR on the PSVR. Death Road to Canada on the PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. Tobuscus Adventures Wizards on PC. That's a game that was created by a YouTuber, and now he's finally made his own game. I believe it was on Android and iOS first. Now it's on PC. Steins Gate Zero on PC. Tia Chains of Valhalla on PC and PS4. Demolition Engineer on the PC. Ocean Wonder VR on the PC. Trailblazers Xbox One. AO International Tennis on the Xbox One if you like sports. Immortal Redneck on the Switch. God, that's a good name. One Piece Pirate Warriors 3 Deluxe Edition on the Switch. Laser League PS4, Xbox One, PC, and The Fall on the Switch. So that's it for me today, guys. Thanks for sticking around for as long as you have. If you have any questions, concerns, or just tell me if I'm wrong about something, give us your input, and please follow me on my Twitter at Jackosaurus, or email me at thegamification@outlook.com, or come hang out at our Facebook group and just talk about all sorts of things. Got any hints and tips for new games that come out? Talk about comics or other weird things. Yeah, we'd love to talk to you. Thanks again. Please like and subscribe to the video. Hit the notification bell. And I'll see you next time. End of line. Yeah? That's it? No? Oh, shit.